The Secrets of Doctor Who is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, where we discuss everything about the hit BBC series Doctor Who. And today we're discussing the 13th Doctor New Year's special, Eve of the Daleks. I'm Dom Bettinelli, and joining me today on the panel are Jimmy Akin. Hi, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
And Father Cory Sticha. Hi, Father Cory.
Howdy and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. So before we get into things, I want to remind you to follow The Secrets of Doctor Who in Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, your favorite podcast app, or at the SQPN YouTube channel, where you should also be sure to hit the bell to get any notifications of new episodes. And I want to tell you about another show on the network you're sure to enjoy, which is called Let's Science. Every other week, or every fortnight, as they say in Australia, you will get a new episode, about 20 minutes long, that talks about some interesting aspect of science from Carolyn, Lindsay, and Lino, looking at science from a Catholic point of view. So if you want to check that out, that's at sqpn.com/science or wherever fine podcasts are found. All right, Jimmy, can you give us a recap of Eve of the Daleks?
It's New Year's Day, and the Doctor decides to do a full system reset on the TARDIS so it can fix itself from damage suffered during the Flux storyline. While it's resetting, the Doctor, Yaz, and Dan are stuck in a self-storage facility where they encounter two humans, Nick and Sarah, and several Daleks. The Daleks are there to kill the Doctor in reprisal for her actions in the Flux event, leading to the destruction of the Dalek Warfleet. But every time they kill everyone, time resets itself and brings everybody back in shortening time loops, each a minute closer to midnight. It emerges that time is being reset because the TARDIS is resetting itself. To get out of the time loops and defeat the Daleks, the Doctor decides to use illegally stored explosives to blow up the self-storage building. So they put the plan into action, escape from the building, and trick the Daleks into blowing it up. The end. And after all those amazingly complex Flux summaries, it is nice to have one I can do in just 7 sentences.
It's a much simpler episode. Much simpler episode.
So let's start off by talking about the guest stars this week, Sarah and Nick. And you know what? I really liked Sarah and Nick. What did you guys think? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were great.
Sarah had a refreshing, so she was Irish, right? I think that was Irish.
Yes, that was an Irish accent.
That's what I thought. And she just had like this refreshing, no-nonsense, sort of jaded attitude that was just kind of fun.
Kind of sarcastic and just kind of matter of fact.
And flawed.
Yeah.
Both her and Nick were flawed characters in a nice way. They weren't super the bestesty whatevers ever. They both made mistakes, and not just in terms of tactics, but like at one point Nick is an eccentric, and he is at this self-storage facility. He comes every New Year's Eve because he knows that's when Sarah is going to be there. She's the owner.
Right.
And she has unreliable help. There's a character named Jeff who we never get to meet, who is never there on New Year's Eve, no matter how often Sarah assigns him to work. And so she ends up having to work New Year's Eve, which means that Nick has noticed that she's always there New Year's Eve. So he shows up because he's got a secret crush on her. He also has lots of other girlfriends, apparently, over the course of time, and they leave stuff at his place or with him, and he's self-storing it just in case they ever want it back, even if it's been years and it's an old worthless Monopoly game or something like that, instead of throwing it away. And so when Sarah realizes that this is what Nick is doing, she starts talking to him about what a weirdo loser he is, and she so disheartens him and blaming him for them being stuck in time loops with Daleks who are killing them.
Right.
And he is so despondent after that he sacrifices himself and lets himself get killed by one of the Daleks. He knows he's going to come back, but he still does this, and she drove him to it. So that's a character flaw on her part, and she is mortified and without saying I'm sorry, says I'm sorry.
Right. Basically, yeah. I mean, and as you expected, by the end of it, they end up together, having gone through this time loop over and over and over again. They realize their feelings.
And it was clear from the beginning that was going to happen. I like at the end they pound on the fourth wall a little bit, where they're talking. They're leaving to like travel the world together, and they're talking about our first date. Sarah talks about the events of New Year's Day as their first date, and Nick is like, I think that was more of a meet cute, and meet cute is film industry jargon or entertainment industry jargon for when two characters who are destined to be romantically involved first meet in a cute situation. And indeed, this was a meet cute.
It was yeah, it was fun. I mean, to me, Sarah had a bit of a Donna Noble vibe to her.
Yeah, sure.
A little bit.
I like Donna. Yeah, it's a fun personality to have in these situations. You know, not the typical the doctor or that sort of thing, but sort of no, like I'm not just gonna go along and accept what you say. This is wrong, and kind of challenging the doctor on things. I enjoyed that.
What I like is after the very first reset, Nick and Sarah, who are not time travelers, immediately figure out that they're in a time loop.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is very quick. We do not waste time on this. They immediately figure out they're in a time loop being killed by robots.
Yes. Killer robots, which that was a whole funny thing too with the whole killer robot thing. And if they've watched sci-fi, they've seen the time loop thing on Star Trek and a billion other shows. Stargate and everything has done time loops.
I still prefer Stargate's take on it.
It's the best. It's the best one.
Yeah, it is.
In my backswing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that episode is Window of Opportunity. I can't wait till we get to talk about that in the Secrets of Stargate, because that's a fun one.
That one is awesome.
That is the best. So it starts off that it's a elf storage is the sign, but it's actually self storage, and the S has gone dark. But elf storage, I kind of felt like that.
Off.
What's that? Oh, fell off.
Fell off.
All right. So Sarah has inherited this business from her uncle and just continued to run it for 5 years with one customer. Like Nick is her only customer.
And I don't think that was, I wondered about that, because there is a line that's kind of confusing in that regard. I think she means he's the one customer I have here on New Year's Eve, as opposed to being at a party with lots of people. I'm just here with one customer.
Okay. And
yeah, that's kind of how I took it too, is she knew he was going to come in, and so she had to be there anyways.
And then
just for him.
Right. And then he kind of throws out, like when he's talking to her first, he goes, "Can you remind me of the list of things that can't be stored?" Which is always a bad sign.
Well, and it's okay. Here's all the things we're going to find in the building.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah, that was a very clear prefigurement of what we're going to find. I love go ahead.
I was going to say, it was obviously meant to be like he's basically just wanting to spend time with her and listen to her.
Right. But what does hazardous mean?
Yeah.
And I love the concept of Jeff, the unseen character who plays a key role in the resolution of this by the fact of all of the bad things he does. Like, he is a bad man, as the doctor says.
There was a guy at the end that saw the fireworks. That my headcanon's that's Jeff.
I wondered if that was Jeff too. They never identified who that was one way or another, but there is a guy watching the fireworks display from a distance after the building blows up.
Yeah, oh wait, this is Carl. That was Carl from the Sim Shaw episode.
Was it really?
He was on the train with Grace and Graham. I was just looking at TARDIS Wiki. I saw it listed. This Carl character, who's the only other person who was I don't remember. Yeah, and it's Carl Wright. He was pursued as the trophy by Sim Shaw in Sheffield.
Oh, so interesting. And now he's in Manchester watching the fireworks. Apparently,
yes. And they make a slam on Manchester, I think, at the beginning, which has got to be a UK thing, and so because the doctor is supposed to be taking Yaz and Dan to this beach planet. The Doctor never apparently in any incarnation can ever actually get to a beach planet when he or she intends to. You'd think you'd look up.
No, but he did get to a beach planet once in that we saw. I mean, they mentioned him getting to beach planets other times.
Yeah,
like when the 11th Doctor went to space Florida.
Right.
But they did get to the beach planet in Mind Warp in the 7th Doctor's time when Perry ended up having her brain swapped with an alien evil slug and then got blown to bits by her sort of boyfriend Brian Blessed.
That was that one. Yep. Yes, that happened. Yep. You would think that though they would have looked out the door to make sure they were actually at their destination before doing the resetting the TARDIS, and if we stay inside too long we'll die. Like, make sure you're there, but that wouldn't have worked with the story, I guess. But
I like that they pointed out, oh yeah, if we stay inside while it's resetting, we'll die. Because all the architecture is going to be colliding around like crazy.
Right. Yep. So TARDIS separation right off the bat, which is part of the thing. Then you have this then we have the Daleks show up, and Nick gets shot fairly quickly. He's up in his storage area. And
by the way, I like the Dalek Gatling gun.
Yes, the upgrades are kind of interesting on the Daleks. At one point, someone says, I forget if it's the Doctor or somebody else. I guess it's the Doctor. Daleks are the deadliest killing machines in the universe. And Melanie and my wife Melanie and I kind of look at each other and go, they're not really, actually. They're not all that hard to kill. The Doctor kills lots of them all the time.
It depends on which episode you're watching, how deadly they are.
I guess that's true. Especially in Classic, there was that one we had the 7th Doctor and the battle tank Daleks, which were pretty impressive, I guess.
Yeah, heavy weapons Dalek, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in New Who, when they bring the Daleks back for the first time, it's implied they are extremely deadly, and like one Dalek could wipe out life on Earth.
Right. And the Daleks get a bunch of fun lines like Daleks learn, like they as they're stalking the Doctor and the others throughout the building in each loop.
Yeah. We find out Daleks don't have friends, so that's why they're so mean and killy.
I like when the Doctor refers, they're taunting the Daleks, and the Doctor refers to, tell your friends or something. Daleks do not have friends. Well, that's your own fault, isn't it?
Yes, right. And so one of the key aspects of this is the first loop begins at 10 minutes to midnight, and each successive loop is 1 minute shorter. And I get the idea that they're trying to create this dramatic tension of, we're going to get shorter. But there is a plot hole in this, which is the amount of action that happens in each loop, especially the last one that's 1 minute long, is impossible to occur in the amount of time that they've said it's going to occur. It kind of annoyed me a little bit, I have to say. I have to suspend my disbelief and that sort of thing, but it is kind of funny.
I wondered about that. I didn't time it because I didn't care enough to time it.
Yeah.
But if I was thinking about the problem as it was coming up on the final time loop, and when they actually get to the final time loop, they're all split up. And so we're tracking what several groups of people are doing in the same minute. And that may, if you divide by 3, because I think they're in 3 groups at that point, that may make it make a little more sense.
I was thinking about that. So the Doctor and I think Yaz go from the basement to the 5th floor to get Jeff's hazardous materials, then brings it back to the basement and sets up the whole explosive thing with the phone in time to
do that all in the final loop. I thought they did that in the 3rd to last loop, and then they took the 2nd to last loop off to mislead the Daleks into thinking they were doing something other than their real plan.
But now that raises the question: is did everything reset back to where it was, or did the stuff they moved stay where it was?
So here's the thing on that. They establish it that because the time loops are getting closer to midnight or beginning closer to midnight, that the effects of previous time loops will remain up to the minute of restart. And there's a particular dramatic point in the episode where Sarah points out, this is like on the bridge between the fourth and the fifth time loop. Sarah is defying the doctor's commands and is storming off to get Nick. And the doctor says, stay here. You got to follow my plan if this is going to work. And she says, no, Nick did not make it past the fifth minute.
Right.
We're about to go into the fourth loop. If I don't get him now, Nick stays dead.
Oh, okay. So the things that happened in the minute that's passed. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And
Will remain.
And they did show that, but it's very subtle because it was like Sarah and Nick as they were moving where they started the loop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would change position. So they would change position. So yeah, that was a little confusing for me at the end too. But yeah, as you mentioned it, Jimmy, it makes a little more sense now. I was just thinking, you know, they could have done this episode. I mean, they would have had the time to do it, where you have the full 10 minutes, full 9 minutes, the full 8 minutes. But let's be honest, that would be kind of boring to do it. And there were some of the loops they all but skipped over them. I mean, they spent 2 minutes on it of, you know, them getting shot by the Daleks and we reset.
Right. I like that Nick saves himself in when he's confronted by two Daleks. He sets them up in a crossfire situation so they kill each other. Very, very clever on Nick's part.
Yeah, that was great. Just when you're sandwiched between two Daleks, taunt them and duck.
Yep.
Right. At another point, Dan sacrifices himself, even though they know they're in a loop. There's always that chance that you know this may be the last. You're still dying, so it seems it's a bit of a risk. But
that
was something I wondered about, is how much pain are they subjectively experiencing? Because they don't show bad after effects.
Yeah.
You know, when time resets, it's not like, wow, did that hurt?
Right. But they do seem to like cringe when they get hit by the Dalek weapon. So, yeah.
It could be that the Daleks fry your nervous system so fast that's involuntary and you're not really experiencing it.
The doctor does get her usual moment when she gets to make a speech about try again.
Oh, that was one of the two weak points in the episode.
Yes. Yeah.
The overall, this episode, I thought it started really great.
Yep.
It's very fast paced. They're not wasting time on stuff. They're not preaching at us. And then eventually we get a preachy speech towards the end about, oh, we've all got to be together in our togetherness and blah, blah, blah. And it just goes on for too long. I mean, you could have, if you're going to have that speech at all, it needed to be much shorter.
Well, Chibnall apparently has been taking notes from Discovery, so.
I was going to say a Star Trek Discovery episode broke out in the middle of
yeah, in more than one way, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that in a bit. But yeah, she's like, you know, we go again and we win, and it's like, yeah, okay, all right.
And we fail, and then we fail better, and stuff like that.
Right. It's like being at a business meeting, you know, a motivational business meeting. Well, we should say the other less than perfect part. I'm gonna throw it out there that you guys. I wonder if you'll agree. Is the whole thing?
Dan points out that Yaz has romantic feelings for the Doctor, and both Yaz and the Doctor are pretending this isn't the case.
So we've had Doctor as my boyfriend. Now we got Doctor as my girlfriend, I guess.
And because I was wondering after the last episode, because they were clearly at the end of Flux hinting at this.
Yeah.
And I wondered, are they going to leave it where it is, or are they going to advance that plot line? And they advanced it. And that means they're going to advance it again.
Right.
But the thing is, they only have 2 episodes left before the Doctor is gone. And presumably Yaz is going too. I don't think Russell T. Davies is going to want to have relics of the Chibnall era laying around to deal with. And so Yaz is almost certainly going to go, as is the Doctor. And that means we're not going to have any long drawn out romance. We may get a dying, yeah, I love you, Rose Tyler moment, you know, which is all we've ever had before on screen with a companion.
Yeah.
I mean, they've played with romantic chemistry with like Rose Tyler. But then in terms of overt stuff, all we got was a tragic goodbye. Yeah. And we could have a tragic goodbye with Yaz, but there's not going to be time for much more than that.
I just feel like it's been done. Like it's retreading. You know, we had Rose, like you said, Rose in the 11th Doctor, 10th Doctor. I'm sorry, then
Martha Jones.
Martha Jones. I kept wanting to say Jones. Martha Jones in the 10th Doctor, and then we had Clara in the 11th Doctor, and then finally with the 12th Doctor, we didn't have to deal with any of that. That clearly wasn't happening between Clara and him. Wasn't happening with Bill and him, and then we didn't have it with this Doctor. Like I was kind of wondering whether they'd end up putting a male companion in there who would have feelings for the 13th Doctor, and that would actually be at least a twist, you know, a little bit of turnabout. But I feel like this whole romantic feelings for the companion for the Doctor has been done. There's nothing new, interesting about that. We've created this tension.
It is understandable from a certain point of view, in that if you're an ordinary human being living your ordinary human life, and this amazing person comes in and sweeps you off your feet and takes you these amazing places, and you have exciting, thrilling adventures, that could for various people, if you're not fleeing and hiding behind your sofa, it could, you know, blend into romance for some people. So I don't think that it's, I don't like it happening, especially in this context, and it has been done. Yeah. But I understand the psychological dynamic that's there, and I don't mind it in principle coming up on the show from time to time. I don't like it here, but I don't mind that, you know, Sarah Jane and Tom Baker's Doctor had romantic chemistry, you know, even though they never paid it off on screen. And I don't want, I don't want an ongoing soap opera, and I don't want a lot of this kind of content, but I don't object to occasional Doctor companion romantic vibes.
Right. Does it feel to you, it feels like to me that some of this is a bit of fan service to a particular part of the fan base. As soon as we had a female Doctor, we needed to have this particular kind of same-sex relationship come up.
These scenes with Dan and Yaz, and then Yaz and the Doctor, were very much just flying the flag. You know, I mean, we got to get it out there. We got to make sure we're you know, checking our little check box, and you know, it's there. Because I mean, the episode would have been fine without any of it. Actually, probably would have been better without any of it.
Well, it would have been better without it, because it drags down the plot. There is up to now, other than the togetherness motivational speech, this has been a mile a minute. It has been fun and enjoyable, and it's really getting work done. Even though it's a simple story structure, it's complex in terms of all the things they're trying to do in these different loops. And it was very engaging, except for the two scenes where they bog it down.
Right.
Well, and even just the fact of, okay, we're in this loop now. It was like the 4-minute left loop, and Dan has this big long conversation with Yaz about it. It's like, no time for this now. Survive and then talk about it.
Right. That's I feel like it would be better or just as good or what if it was just Yaz is friends with the Doctor, and she just wants to be really good friends with the Doctor and idolizes her and holds her up, puts her on a pedestal, and wants to travel with her and be just like the Doctor. Like, it could be that. Like, they just...
Well, that was Clara.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of companions.
It's a lot of companions. It was Amy, too, and Ace to some degree.
Yeah.
But I know I don't like this either. So let's talk about something I do like.
Yes. Let's move on.
When the Doctor first meets Nick and Sarah, she's charging up this corridor, waving the psychic paper at them. And she, as usual, doesn't know what the psychic paper is showing to explain their presence here. But Sarah, the owner, says, "Are you really from building control?" And the doctor says, "Yes, I'm here to control your building." and then the doctor says, "We've got to get out of here." And Sarah is like, "We're stuck in a time loop being killed by robots."
Yeah.
And the doctor is like, "Well, actually, it's a Dalek." And Sarah is, "You know its name? Is it your robot? We've died like 2 times already." And at that point, Nick is kind of perplexed, and he says, "I'm trying to figure out which is more unlikely, time loops with robots or 3 people from the council working on New Year's Eve."
Yeah, I love that.
That was a very good line.
that definitely crosses a culture. We could pick some government workers here in the United States that, yeah, they wouldn't set foot in the office for anything on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, right. Never mind 3 of them.
Also, after Nick sacrifices himself, Sarah's mom is the only other character we see in this, and we only see her on Sarah's smartphone, which is partly broken. It's not fully functional. Yeah. But her mom keeps calling her at like 3 minutes to midnight because she's under the illusion that the phone lines will fill up at midnight and she won't be able to get through. And that's a real thing that used to happen.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But Sarah is like, "Mom, it isn't 1973 anymore. The phone lines will be fine." Yeah. And modern phone systems, almost because everyone is carrying smartphones, they're scaled up for everybody having a phone and being on them very frequently. And so phone lines very seldom max out that way. Although they did when the space shuttle crashed over my family ranch, little rural phone network in East Texas. And when the space shuttle went down, everybody called everybody to find out if everybody was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And similarly, I believe in 9/11, the phone system in New York maxed out, but the text functions on people's phones kept working.
Right.
Yeah.
Because text is low bandwidth. It is compared to voice. And so it doesn't chew up nearly as much network capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. Modern cell phone systems and even modern landline systems will overload in emergency, especially if there's something like a natural emergency that destroys towers and things like that. But yeah, Jimmy's absolutely right. In an emergency, if you're in a natural disaster or something like that, don't call, send texts.
Yeah.
Because and also the advantage of text is they send out when there's a gap in the bandwidth, when they can get that little sneak in, so it might not be right away, but it'll send.
Yeah. But immediately after Nick sacrifices himself, Sarah is recoiling in the storage unit, and she's like up against a wall between a shelf and the wall, and and she's just like cringing from what she's just seen, and she's very distraught. And it's that moment her mom calls again, and she says, "Oh, my giddy aunt." Which is a direct callback to Patrick Troughton. That was one of his catchphrases.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, nice.
We also have the doctor. There's a number of fan servicey things like that in here. When the Daleks are explaining that they're here to punish the doctor for what happened with the Dalek war fleet, she says, "That was not my doing. That was a Sontaran stratagem."
Which was
an episode name from earlier in New Who.
Yep. One of the things I liked was when the doctor said to Sarah, "I need your mom to call at exactly 10 seconds to midnight." And Sarah's response is,
"We're doomed.
We're doomed, because if we're going to depend on my mom to do anything I tell her exactly as I told her to do it, it's never going to happen. So you figure out a different plan, because otherwise we're doomed." Which is, I think, a great realistic response to such a thing, because it would be the same way with my mom, or I think probably a lot of people's moms. "Mom, you have to call exactly at 10 seconds to midnight." That's not going to happen. That was good.
I think, if you phrased it right, most people's moms would probably be on board, but it would need to be something like, "This is life and death. I will literally die unless you call at 10 seconds to midnight. Do this. Do not ask questions."
Right. And then hang up. And then, so she has to do it. But
has to call you back if she wants closure.
Right. Let's talk quickly about Jeff's contraband in the building. So Jeff is the employee who's never shows up. who apparently has taken over large sections of the storage facility that Sarah wasn't aware of. And so on the 5th floor, he has one whole storage locker that's full of taxidermy, which is a violation of the no live or dead animals.
You're right. I don't know why that would be prohibited, though. I mean,
well, I bet it's not for taxidermy, but more to no live animals. I understand that.
Yeah, I get that.
And probably no like dead meat sort of thing.
And I wonder too, though, how much of it is British rules about, what kind of animals you can have taxidermied in the first place.
Perhaps maybe they have different rules. Yeah.
Well, I can understand. I mean, certain animals may be illegal to keep and maybe even illegal to have their remains because they're exotic or something, and you don't want to encourage trafficking and killing exotic animals.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't lead to a blanket policy of no dead animals. I mean, are you not allowed to have leather belts in your storage unit? How about a pair of boots?
Yeah.
Right. And then in the next one, he's got a bunch of party stuff. I'm not sure why that would be contraband. What was that about?
I don't know that was meant to be contraband. I think that was just meant to be useless.
Yeah, weird.
Exactly. Weird, yeah.
And then an entire storage locker filled with thousands of cans of beef and beans.
It's apparently 3 years past its expiration.
Right.
Yeah. Now, and I would like to hear from our British people, because beef and beans is not something you find here. You find pork and beans a lot here in the United States.
Hot dogs and beans, yeah. Yeah.
Or the little piece of bacon fat and beans, basically.
Right.
But
which is advertised as pork and beans.
Yeah. Is beef and beans really that bad? Because that actually, if it's done right, that sounds pretty good. But
I suppose maybe it's like Chef Boyardee or something over there.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And then he's got another storage locker that is basically is an apartment that he's living in. Which again is a violation of yet another requirement that you don't live in your storage locker. And then a final one that has like all kinds of chemicals, like he's running a drug lab or something in there, which
and he's got a big massive set of boxes of fireworks down in the basement.
Right. Which and eventually, because everything explodes and because of the doctor at the end of it, sets off the New Year's Eve fireworks as the building collapses, which was actually a pretty nice effect. They had the building going down. The TARDIS survives. We did see the casings of the dead Daleks and underneath that, so that closed that loop for us too. So so the things end up relatively, everybody is alive and fine. I was kind of like, why did they assume that the loops end at midnight? Because midnight is an arbitrary, in that location, midnight is an arbitrary time.
If you're calculating the loops getting shorter, because the doctor has noticed that each time they're getting a minute closer to midnight, you can infer midnight is going to be the summation of the overall series.
I suppose, although it could be 12:05, but I mean, it's just an arbitrary choice. Unless
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
well, but they're also measuring they get up to the moment. Well, I think it's also based on the fact they never get past midnight in the loops.
Yeah. Right. Okay, that could be it. And then, I get. I guess so. There was maybe something else, but I guess that's it.
I mean, let's be honest. They just did it so that they could have the fireworks display right at midnight.
Right at midnight. Yeah. It's a New Year's Eve thing, and at the strike of midnight, it's again.
You guys are so non-diegetic.
It's like, as you always say, Jimmy, it's science fantasy, so we don't push it too hard.
Yeah.
And then we end. Yeah, we get the nice fireworks at the end. So, any other notes on this episode, Father Cory?
I was kind of having the half hope that with the reset of the TARDIS, we'd get the new interior. That's going to be coming with the new Doctor. And of course, we didn't get that.
That'll be up to Russell T. Davies. Yeah.
I had a hope that we would.
Yeah. How about you, Jimmy?
I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to go back and watch the first part of Flux again to see when. But I think the damage to the TARDIS was already there before the Doctor tried to absorb Flux energy.
Yep.
And so I'm pretty clear I remember it that way. And so I don't know if if they had something bigger they were planning with the TARDIS being damaged, and they're just sweeping that under the rug and jettisoning it now. but I don't think that the flux presented us with this damage is because of the flux.
Yeah.
I like in this that now one thing the doctor says that's clearly wrong is that the time loop is limited to the building. So if they can get out of the building after midnight, they won't be caught in the time loop. And that's clearly false because mom keeps calling.
Yes.
And mom has no memory of the prior calls. So this is a time loop that is universal or at least terrestrial or at least British in scale, presumably at least planetary. And so that's a mistake that they make. I like that this is that we have non-universal stakes for once.
Yes.
It's just about our characters, and you build a perfectly fine, fast-paced drama that is very engaging with just these 5 people. Yep. And it's all about these people surviving. You don't have to blow it up into something like Britain's going to be destroyed or the universe is going to be destroyed or anything like that. It's, if you have characters that people care about, you don't need to appeal to other things they care about, like the universe. In fact, people have trouble caring about the universe as a whole. They find it easier to care about characters they like. So this is actually better drama. I also like it when Dan is faking out the Dalek in the reception area as a delaying tactic, and he pretends he thinks the Dalek is like automated customer service. And treats it like it's bad customer service.
Right.
And I like the way the Daleks are portrayed more or less as vicious killers in this. They don't spend a lot of time talking with people. They actually talk a little more than they probably should, but they don't spend a lot of time talking. And then they turn on their rapid fire guns and kill people, and they're scarier in this than they are in a lot of stuff.
Yep. Yeah. I like the fact that while it's, there's drama and, lives are at stake, it's not a horror story. So it's a little more fun that way. I mean, people are dying but coming back to life. So in that case, it's not a horror scary thing that they could have done otherwise. And I do like that. I like the feel of this one. The lightheartedness of it was fun.
Of the 3 New Year's Day specials we've had in the Chibnall era, I think this is the best.
Agreed.
I would agree with that. Yeah, better than Revolution of the Daleks, certainly. This is the best one. All right. So there's a little bit of rumor news that they're going to start filming the next season of that with Russell T Davies this spring, which would imply that there's a new Doctor being cast as we speak. But also we've got these 2 specials that are coming up to finish out the 13th Doctor's time, including the regeneration. But we don't know. We don't have any sense of when those are going to happen, do we? Really.
The first special is going to be around Easter.
Okay.
And the second special is going to be around October for the BBC 100th anniversary.
Oh, okay, right. So I wonder what that implies for a Christmas/New Year's special next year. I mean, are they going to break the tradition?
Russell T Davies has hinted on Twitter that he will be reintroducing Christmas specials.
That would be nice.
And so it's possible we'll get one, but I'm not at all sure that we will. I thought, now, if I were a showrunner, I would want to have, because they've got the 60th anniversary coming up in November of 2023.
Yep.
And if I were Russell T Davies, I would want to have an entire season with the new with the 14th Doctor before we head into the 60th anniversary, because anniversaries like that tend to be multi-doctor stories, and you don't want additional doctors hogging up screen time if you're introducing somebody new for the first time. So I would want to do a Christmas special, followed by at the end of 2022, followed by a series in 2023, leading up to the 60th anniversary in November of 2023. But apparently Russell T Davies is not doing it that way. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do. He may have the 60th anniversary be the introduction other than a regeneration scene.
Right.
Of it may be the first 14th Doctor story. I don't know. I hope not.
Well, and a possibility too, I mean, depending on how they do it, is the Christmas special will be the introduction of the new season. I mean, that's if they're starting to film a season already, maybe that's what they're thinking.
Right. Well, it's kind of what they did with the 10th Doctor, where they had his first episode was that Christmas special.
A Christmas ep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen
not a
it
good Christmas ep.
No, it wasn't.
No.
Yeah. I've seen where he's been quoted or online, and where it seems to imply that he's looking that Davies is looking at November 2023 as the beginning of the next season. But it just drives me a little crazy. This, like, how do you expect to maintain momentum in a fan base? I mean, I feel like part of the reason why, in addition to quality of production, but part of the reasons why we lose ratings and fans with stuff like this is because we give them 6 episodes every 3 years, and we expect people to maintain, excitement and interest over that period of time.
That's partly because of the history of British television, because that's not actually that unusual. They tend to, historically, they've had much shorter series than Americans, and often like, oh yeah, we'll come back in a couple of years and do another series maybe.
I guess. Yeah, it's the American, especially on streaming services, have kind of gone to that model too. I find it frustrating because it's, again, like I said, it's hard to, you bring back your series and I don't remember who these people are or what's going on.
Right. They're treating it kind of like movies.
Yeah.
Because movies have such except for like back in the 30s when they rushed out Son of Kong within months of the original King Kong.
Right.
The movies have a multi-year timeline, and people are willing to come back for the next Avengers movie in 3 years, and they're not going to remember what happened in the previous one perfectly, but they'll be enthusiastic enough to do it. So, that's the way it is. Let's complain about it some more. That will do some good.
Well, it's very much the binge model. The model of let's get everything up online and then you can binge it. So
yeah.
Which in itself is not too bad. But
I was wondering if you all had any insight into more than I had about what's going on.
You look at Classic Who, and the idea that they had seasons every year that were long seasons. It is pretty rare for British TV.
Sure.
Even back then. So,
well, the good news is we've got lots of Classic Who to talk about, and New Who still, and we've got Big Finish and lots of other stuff to maintain. And that's the benefit of Doctor Who, is it's got decades and decades, coming up on 60 years of stuff to talk about. So we're never going to run out. That's for sure. All right, let's wrap things up there then. We'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create The Secrets of Doctor Who, including Amy C., Andrea H., Robert B., Hannah G., and Tina G. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Doctor Who and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So we'd love to hear what you think of Eve of the Daleks. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com or the Secrets of Doctor Who Facebook page, or send an email to drwho@sqpn.com. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the 11th Doctor story, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. Until then, Father Cory Sticha, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Doctor Who.
Thank you, Dom.
Jimmy Akin, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Doctor Who on StarQuest. And remember, Daleks do not have managers.